Hey guys, this is the Retro Rewinder here, and it's kind of the slow season for pickups right now. The garage sales are all pretty much over. I think there have been maybe one or two a week going on, and there's probably not going to be any this weekend. It's gotten pretty cold up here. So it's also closer to Christmas time, so the money I have to spend on pickups is a little on the low side for everybody else's Christmas gifts. But I did want to make a video because I just came out with this channel, and it seemed kind of silly for me to make a channel and not have any videos come out. So what I've done is I've kind of chosen some of my favorite pickups over the past year and a half, which is how long I've been collecting. I originally had a collection and ended up selling it, and maybe in a future video I'll talk about why I did that and everything. But since that time, it's been about a year and a half now that I've been actively collecting again. So I've actually surpassed my original collection, which is great. So this collection is doing pretty good. So I wanted to give you some of my favorite pickups over this past year and a half. I'm going to break this up into three parts. The first part is going to be local stuff that is not garage sales. So this is Craigslist, email, phone, conversations with other people type thing. So the first thing I have here is a Sega Genesis lot that I got about a year ago. Maybe not quite that long, but he contacted me and said he had 82 Sega Genesis games with a Sega Genesis third model system, and asked me if I wanted it, and I said I'd be interested in it. I'd like to come look at it. So I went over there and I looked through it. He did not have a whole lot of sports games, which was great. They were pretty good titles. The thing is, I don't normally pay a whole lot of money for video games because I'm a little on the broke side. So I normally pick up from thrift stores and garage sales. So I couldn't offer him a lot of money for it. But I did end up offering him $45, and he thought it was fair enough to take it because he knew he was giving it to someone that would use it, collect it, take care of it, that kind of thing. So I've chosen some of my favorite games that came out of this lot to talk to you about. The first one I have here is Contra Hard Corps, which is an incredibly hard game, which is why it's probably called Hard Corps. Corpse? Yes, Corpse. It should be with an E at the end. But anyway, a great game. I've only gotten past like the first level because there's so much going on the screen compared to the original Contra. It's really hard for me to play it. I'll probably put some more time into it and get a little better and get a little further into it. But anyway, the next game is Ristar. Zombies Ate My Neighbor. Castlevania Bloodlines, which is a Castlevania game, so you can't really go wrong there. Ghostbusters. And one of my favorite games for the Sega Genesis, Gunstar Heroes. I absolutely love this game. It's so much fun. I want to move this video along kind of quickly because I don't really have video editing software or anything, so I don't have the time to edit and make these nice. So I'm going to try to speed through this a little bit. But the second thing was there was a Craigslist post, basically a huge lot of all kinds of different games. And in the ad, he said that he did not necessarily want cash, which was great for me. So I told him I'd like to come look at it, and it was just the town over from mine, and it's actually a pretty small town, so I'm guessing he didn't have a lot of interest of people going there. So I went there, and it was so overwhelming. There was 4 tubs full of Nintendo and Sega and Super Nintendo. So I looked through it. I kind of scratched the surface. There was so much I didn't want to go through every single thing. But I told him that I had an adult tricycle that I had picked up for like 15 bucks or something. But it's worth upwards of 150 or so. And I asked if he'd be interested in trading for that and maybe a couple other things, and he said he was. So I offered him that, and he told me that he was a fan of hunting and fishing. So I went through, found some old fishing poles that I had, a tackle box with some lures, basically came up with this variety of hunting. I didn't really have any hunting stuff. I think I had the bottom part of a deer stand that my dad used to have, but I had a lot of fishing stuff. And I just threw as much stuff as I could together just to make it, worth his while, and he actually agreed to it. So I got so much stuff, it was unbelievable. If you go to my Facebook page, which is Retro Rewinder, and I'll put a link at the bottom, you can see actually everything I got because I did document all of it. But I'm just going to talk about the Nintendo portion. They had probably about 100 or so NES games, and I've picked my 2 favorite ones that came out of this lot. There was a lot. I haven't even had a chance to go through and kind of price everything, so there might be something even more rare in there that I don't But anyway, we got Battletoads, which I was so excited to get this game because of I've never owned it, and everybody talks about how hard it is, and I actually loved playing this game until you get to the motorcycle point, and then I had to turn it off because I got frustrated. But the second thing that came in here that he didn't even know he had, because I asked him if he had any Mega Man games, and he said he did not. But inside the system that came with this bundle, sure enough, was Mega Man 1. I was glad to have this. I actually only had the second one, so it's good to get another one. And I'll talk about how I got the second one here in a little bit. So those are kind of my two favorites of local Craigslist type deals. I do a lot of garage selling when it's nice out, so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. The first thing was I went up to this garage sale, and I always ask if they have any video game stuff. And the lady told me they did. But it was not put out. She said that her son had a box of Super Nintendo games. And I was like, well, I'd love to see it. So she brings down this box and opens it up, and inside there are complete boxed, what I thought were games. I was so excited to see them. As I started, picking them up, I realized they're a little lighter than they should be, and none of them actually had the games in them. They were just the boxes. And I told the lady, I was like, oh, they're just the boxes. And she's like, well, I don't know what my son did with them. Well, I'll probably just throw them away. And I was like, no, there's no need to throw your games away. I'll take them. How much do you want for them? She's like, they're just boxes. You can have them. So I actually got some boxed games that don't have the games, so it's just boxes. There were some manuals, a couple that I wish the manuals were in there. They were not, but I'll show you what we got. We got Super Mario Kart, Rock and Roll Racing, which I picked this up the first time I was a collector for like $1 at a garage sale. Operation Logic Bomb, I don't know anything about that game. Star Fox, F-Zero, Vortex, Super Ghouls and Ghosts. We had just the manual to Super Mario World. I don't have the box for it. I don't know where she had the box. Zelda, A Link to the Past. And probably the best box that came out of that lot, Final Fantasy III. It did not have the manual, which was a huge bummer because I would have loved to have the manual. It did have the poster in it for Final Fantasy III though. So all those were free at a garage sale. Yeah, it was one of my favorite deals I've ever had because it was cool to get something for free for one, and the idea, it was so exciting to see them, and then kind of a crash that the games weren't in there, and then she gave them to me, so it kind of made it worth it again. But the manual didn't come in the Zelda game or Final Fantasy III, and I could have swore that Super Metroid was in there, but I might have misplaced that somewhere in my closet. That's where I keep everything until we have our own game room. I am married, that's why I said R, even though my wife isn't a big fan of it, so she doesn't really care about any of that stuff. But at another garage sale, one of my favorite things I've gotten that I use all the time is this. This is a DS Lite. It is pink, which not a big fan of pink, but when I originally got this, it looked like a child had taken gray marker and scribbled all over the front of it. You couldn't even see it was pink. I turned it on, it did work, but I couldn't tell if there was any scratches or anything because of how messy it was. There was even marker on the screen. So I offered the lady $5, and she took it. It came with a Transformers game, Nintendogs, some babysitting game, I'm not sure exactly what it was, and I think like one other kind of generic title. But took it home, took a magic eraser to it, and it cleaned up perfectly. There is a couple little scratches, you probably can't see it, but there are a few, nothing major, and it plays great. I use it all the time for my Game Boy Advance games and DS. So that's kind of my two favorite garage sale stories. I've gotten a lot more stuff from garage sales than that. I kind of had to lower it down to two that I thought were pretty good. So the last part of this video is my thrift store pickups, and the two separate things I'm going to show you both came from Goodwills. I was a Salvation Army person. Most of those have closed around here though. There's a few local thrift shops, but most of the stuff I pick up is from Goodwill. At the Salvation Army, actually, I got a box Sega Genesis. That's probably the coolest system I've ever gotten out in the wild, to have it boxed, because I don't hardly see any box stuff around here. So the first Goodwill I went to, this all came from the same trip, and I was so happy to see some of the stuff. They had a lot more, but I was limited on cash, so I kind of had to pick what I wanted, and some of the other stuff was more common, and I knew I'd be able to pick it up another time. But the first thing I got was North and South, which I haven't played it. I haven't even really looked into it. I just know for a Civil War game, I knew it had to be a little more rare, and I looked it up, and it definitely was. I'm not sure what it's selling for right now, but I don't plan on selling it. I plan on keeping it, and I paid $3.99 for it at the Goodwill. The other thing I got was Mega Man 2, which this actually came in a plastic protective case that the game rental places used to use. That was $3.99 as well. And the other thing I got that day for, this one was actually $4.99, was the Super Nintendo game, Captain Novolin. I don't know very many people of you watching this video that's ever played this. It's god awful. It's a horrible game, but it's so bad it's good. It's really funny. The music, it just cracks me up. But the basic premise of this game is you are fighting diabetes, so you have to give yourself insulin shots, and you basically are trying to rid the planet of these evil aliens that are disguised as cookies and donuts and stuff. It's pretty awful, but it's actually funny that it's that bad. The last thing I have on this video is another thing I got at Goodwill. This was a separate Goodwill, but these all came on the same trip as well. I had a little more money on me that day, and I think the games were only $2.99 that day. So I picked up a bunch of Nintendo 64 games, but the two that really stood out that day were Super Smash Bros. And again, I think I got this for $2.99. And it's one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games that have been made. And my other favorite Nintendo 64 game, Conker's Bad Fur Day. It's actually the second copy that I've picked up in the wild, and I'll tell you a little bit about the other one. I don't have any of the stuff here, but I will tell you about the second copy I picked up. And on that same day, I got a copy of Star Tropics. This one's cool because it is sealed in the original packaging. I'm using a digital camera, so I don't know if this will focus if I hold it up here. We'll try. But if you could read that, the original price on this, when it was lowered in 1996, was $6.98. Goodwill did write on the back of it, kind of made me mad. They used markers, so there is a black marker 5, and I haven't really tried to get it off because I didn't want to rip the packaging. It's still got the pull tab on it, and there is just a slight little tear right there, but it's in nearly perfect condition besides that stupid marker. And again, I got that for $2.99 that day. And the first time I looked it up last year, it was selling, or people had listed it at $30, and I checked it recently and it jumped up to about $50 or $60, which is pretty cool. I do plan on trading this one because I don't really have a need to collect sealed games, so I probably will trade it and try to get some games that I can play and just re-pick up this one sometime. So those are some of my favorite pickups I've ever done. I will tell you about another one that I wanted to include, but I actually sold the system. The same guy that called me about the Sega Genesis 82 game lot bundle called me a few months after that, needing some more cash, and he told me that he had a Sega Game Gear. So I went over there. I did end up getting the Sega Game Gear. There wasn't anything too special, but I only paid him like $15 for it, and there was like 10 games. But I said, do you have any other video game stuff you're looking to get rid of? And he said that he did have a Nintendo 64 lot that if I wanted, I could make him an offer on. And I only had $30 at the time, so I told him, I was like, before I even look at it, I only have $30, that's really all I can offer you. And he said, that's fine, you can have it for $30. Not knowing even what it was, but he said he had multiple games, and from the last time he had multiple games, I knew $30, regardless of what he had, was going to be worth it. But he brought it out, and it was a Pikachu Nintendo 64. It also came with Conker's Bad Fur Day, Mario Kart, I think it had Super Smash Bros. As well. So $30 for all that was well worth it. I did end up keeping all the games I didn't have, and it was like Rampage and the second Rampage game. Those all came with it. But that was one of my really good finds, but I did end up selling the Nintendo 64 because I had one at the time. I don't really have room for it, and at the time I could have used the money for some of the other games that I had bought at the time. So this is the kind of stuff that I find all the time. I mean, these are some of my favorites, but there's been so many other good ones that I didn't have time to mention. So if you like this video, please like it. I could always use more subscribers. So when you guys like it, they can see that you did, maybe get some more people coming this way. I don't have a whole lot of time to make videos as much as some of the other people on YouTube do, but I hope to make one maybe one every couple weeks with some pickups. I have had some recent pickups from the thrift stores, but it's literally like I'll get 1 or 2 games a week maybe. It's just really slow around here, and my funds are limited. So again, if you liked it, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon.